Hi everyone, Sandy here again with the final video, number 9 of my tutorial series for my pop-up mini album I designed for country craft creation using Authentique's Nostalgia paper collection. In this video, I show you how to create the closure for the album and how to decorate the cover, or how I decorated mine. So let's get started. For your closure piece, you will need one piece of cardstock that is 12 inches by 2.5 inches tall. So you're going to cut this and then you will fold it rather than scoring it to fit your album. Also, your pattern pieces need to be measured and cut to fit your closure piece. I'll give you the measurements that I use for mine, but yours may vary depending on the thickness of your album once you're done. Take your 2.5 inch by 12 inch piece of cardstock and corner round or stub punch the one end only that will go on the front side. So I have used a stub punch on mine. I already have the magnet in under the covered patterned cover here on the front, and I need to add the magnet to my closure piece, the opposite magnet. So grab your magnet, and I can't remember if I used a plus or minus, so I'm just going to check, and that one works, so I must have used a plus. So attach it down to where the magnets meet, and then rather than scoring this, we're going to attach it to your album based on how thick your album ended up being with your embellishments. And you might want to wait to put yours on until you've added photos also. So this is an option. You're going to want the back piece to meet on the back side, and then also to grab the magnet on the front. So that's why I put the magnet further over, because I didn't want it too loose, but I still wanted it tight enough to just hold the album closed. The album really holds closed pretty well without, or mine does, without the closure. So you could leave that off if you wanted to, or wait until you've added your photos to see if it really needs that closure or not. The magnet doesn't really show that much once you add your other elements. So here I'm just laying it down on the back where I think it will be, and letting it do a crease where the fold should be, and then I'm going to line it up straight and use my bone folder to get that fold line. So that's the back. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the back section down only. So I do need to make sure that I'm lining it up, centering it so that the front of it will hit the magnet in the correct place. I think my magnet came off, so I see it laying there on the mat. So I'm going to grab it and put it back where it belongs. I have not pulled the backing off of it yet, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to, I think I needed 3 hands with this. It gets a little tricky here with the album. So go ahead and glue the back down, centered. So let it fall down. I'm just fiddling with it to see which way is the easiest way to go. So I think maybe lay it down flat. That's what I end up doing, and making sure it's straight and that it meets there on the end at the back of the spine. Burnish that down, bring it around, and I need to stick that magnet on again, and then fold it around. I'm leaving it a little bit loose to allow for photos in mine, just a little bit. So I'm going to get that crease line, and then I'm going to go ahead and press that magnet down. Okay, so I like that. Now I'm going to open this back up. And you're going to put pattern paper on these 2 sections where you see the magnet. You're going to cut those, and then you're going to mat pattern paper to the 3 sections on the outside. So I'm getting my fold line here. Going to go ahead and fold it, straighten it up, and get a burnish on the fold. So that makes it lay down a whole lot better once you get that fold line. So now we're ready to cut our pattern papers. Now I did not give you the cutting guide for that because where yours fell, where your creases fell, may be different than mine. But mine ended up being, of course, they all are 2 3/8 inches tall. So I ended up cutting 2 that are 2 inches wide, 2 that are 3 1/4 inches wide, and 1 that is 6 1/4 inches wide for the back. So that's my pattern paper measurements. Then you're going to take the 2 that fit on the front of the mat on the inside of the closure, on the inside and the outside. You're going to match the punch that you used, either a corner rounder or a stub punch. So go ahead and punch those, and I'm cutting my papers down right now to fit. Once you have your papers cut, go ahead and glue them down onto your closure piece. I'm inking mine, and I'm going to glue the back one on first, and then I will glue the front 2 and then the 2 on the inside. The closure piece is done, so now I'm ready to decorate the front of my album. Now you will notice my phone on the right. What I do is, this is a designer tip, is that I lay out all the elements onto my cover. I arrange them the way I think I might want them. I do what they call, quote, an audition of the embellishments. I add to, take away, and create, make it look the way I want it. And then when it's the final way I'd like for it to be, I take a picture of it for reference, take everything off, and then start gluing it all back on, using the photo to help me remember where I liked the items that I was going to use for my project. So right now I have punched out snowflakes, cut them with my die cut machine. I have several different dies of snowflake shapes, and I'm gluing one to the front of the closure piece here. I cut these out of artisan cardstock that you can order from Country Craft Creations in the natural or ivory color. It's slightly off-white. It's a really pretty cardstock, so I use that for the snowflakes, and I'm going to glue a large one down in the upper left corner. I die cut circle punch the Santa out and then ink the edges. I'm going to glue him down. I'm going to use the Christmas tree, flatten it down, and use the art glitter glue. I use art glitter glue for all of my embellishments, my ribbons, my bows, my buttons, everything that I put on my cover. I use the art glitter glue. I used to use different glues and would get frustrated with those, so this works wonderfully. You may have to hold it or clip it, but once it dries, it is there. I'm also using a little set of wood skis that were a Christmas ornament. I have a plastic tote box that I keep all my Christmas embellishments in, so when I'm doing a project I go to that and pick out different things. I cut the gold wood base off the bottom of the little tree that I'm going to use and decided to use it in the project as well. I'm going to glue a vintage button onto the top of it and then layer it with the bows that I have made. My bows, the green one is created from Hug Snug seam binding ribbon from Country Craft Creations. I spritzed it with some vintage ink and then crinkled it up and let it dry. I actually dried it with my heat gun to get the vintage crinkled look of the bow, and then I tied a red and off-white button twine bow that's going to be glued on top of the green bow, and then I'll add the wood piece, the button that has been glued to the wood piece. And then off camera I found some of the section of the black and white checked ribbon that you can get from Country Craft Creations. I found it on my table when I cleaned up my papers, so I glued that in right under the base of the tree on top of the other bows. And I will show you later on how I did the little verse on the right hand side. So I'm going to speed this up while I glue everything down, and then I'll be back in a little bit to explain a little bit more to you at the end. While the skis and the tree and the bows are drying, I decided to use my clear Wink of Stella pen and add just a tiny bit of sparkle onto the snowflakes. You can't really see it in the camera, but it adds just the right amount of shimmer and shine to the snowflakes. It really adds to a project. So I'm going to go ahead and speed that up while I add this glitter, and then I'll give you a little bit more final information on what I did on my cover before we finish this project. So the last thing I did to my album cover, besides adding the black and white ribbon bow, is to cut this verse away from the manufacturer's margin on the 12 by 12 paper. On one of the sheets of paper by Authentique, they always have a verse on their papers, and this one says, "I'll be home for Christmas if only in my dreams, Bing Crosby." And I love that. And so I inked it up after I cut it out, and then I'm just wadded it up and folded it up and curled the ends, and then glued it here to the right bottom side of my cover. So this completes my project. This is the end of the tutorial video series. There's 9 videos on how to make this project, so I hope that you will give it a try and that you enjoy it and that you've learned something about pop-ups. If you've never made a pop-up before, that you will go ahead and give it a try. I want you to visit Country Crafts Creations online store and shop around and give them some support. They're a great company. Tamara's just really awesome. I'm on their design team, and most of the products that I use for this project are from their store. They send it to me as a designer, and I appreciate it so much. I really love designing for Country Craft Creations, so I hope you'll give them some of your support and shop online. And join me again for a different video. I'll have something else in probably about a week or so for Country Craft Creations. So thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.